In this question, what we're doing is we're looking at solving equations, but they've got an added level of complexity in them purely because we now have fractions involved as part of the algebra. Now, there's several ways that you can approach these types of questions. First thing you can do, eliminate the denominators in one go. Second thing you can do is do the same logic as we've done when we've solved algebra from S1 all the way up. That's get all the letters on the left, all the numbers on the right, and play about with it until we get x equals as the final answer. Another way to approach it is to take this entire left side, put it over a common denominator and make it a single fraction, then cross multiply and get rid of it. For myself, what I would do is I would get rid of the denominators to start with, remove that level of complexity, and make sure we can then get on. Now, in order to do that, we want to multiply both sides by something that would get rid of both denominators. Easiest way to do that is look at the two numbers and multiply them together. So in this case, if I did 2 times 5, I'd have 10. If I multiply both sides of this equation by 10, what's going to happen is the denominators are going to disappear from both sides. Yes, I'll then still have to do a little bit of math. So when I divide 10 by 2, I've got 5. So I'll still have to multiply by 5 for this bit, but it gets rid of the denominators each time. So multiply everything on this side by 10, all of this side by 10, and then let's see what we do. So I've got x over 2 times 10. So I've got 10 times the x over 2. I've then got to make sure that even though I've got a takeaway 1 here, I still multiply that by 10 as well. So I've then got minus the 10 times 1, and then the entirety of this side, the 3 minus x over 5, gets multiplied by 10 again. So 10 times x over 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5, 5 multiplied by that gives me 5x, 10 times 1, pretty self-explanatory, which is 10, and then all of this bit here, I've got 10 divided by 5, which means I'm then multiplying what's left, the 3 minus x, by 2. And then multiply out the bracket on the right-hand side and figure it out from there. So if I multiply all this bracket out, I get 2 3's, which is 6, take away 2 times x, minus 2x. Then, we're at a stage now where this kind of equation here is the kind of thing we encountered in S1-2 algebra. Get all the letters on the left, all the numbers on the right, work it down till we get a final line that's x equals. So I'm going to shift all my letters over here. So what I'm going to do is add 2x onto both sides to begin with. So I've then got 7x minus 10 equals 6. I'm then going to get rid of the plus 10 by adding 10 to both sides. So I add 10 to both sides. What that then gives me is 7x is equal to 16. Then in order to figure out what x equals, I'm just going to divide both sides by 7. So in that case, I then get x equals 16 over 7. That's going to be my final answer for that question there. Now, as I've said, there's a variety of different ways that we could have approached it. Another way to look at it is to get everything over here that's got a letter in it, shift the numbers across to this side and work it out from there. So I could have taken it and written it as x over 2, take away 3 minus x over 5 equals 1, and then put all of this over a common denominator. So use the kiss and the smile technique covered back in S1-2 to combine it all together, and what we'd get is 5x take away 2 bracket 3 take away x over 10 equals 1, and then simplify from there. So I'd get 5x minus 6 plus 2x over 10 equals 1. I then end up with 7x minus 6 over 10 equals 1. And to get rid of the denominator, I could just multiply both sides by 10, and I get 7x minus 6 equals 10, which is essentially the same as this line here, the only difference being my numbers are the other way round. If I add 6 to both sides, I get 7x is equal to 16, which then ends up giving me the exact same answer there. These kind of questions, there tends to be a variety of ways of doing it, particularly when it comes to solving algebra. The key thing you need to make sure you do is get the right answer. So if this way down here on the left resonates with you, stick with that. if the bit on the right, get them over a common denominator together with the x's on one side and the numbers on the other, and then solve it resonates more with you, stick to that. There are a variety of different ways. There's not one correct way. The key thing is they all end up with the answer of x equals 16 over 7.